symbolic or rather suggestive of the world we're living in currently. I mean, after watching last night's debate, this signing can't come too soon. And so in particular, let me thank everybody for meeting this moment, for all of the hard work that went into creating the moments of deliberative speed and energy and effort to get these bills to my desk. Many of these bills I'm very familiar, have been years and years in the making. In some respects, it's rather sad that I'll be signing a couple of these bills that they weren't addressed decades ago. It's rather remarkable for all of California's leadership, for the leadership of so many of you assembled here today, that we still need to be talking about jury selection. We still need to talk about race in relationship to sentencing guidelines and the like. It's just remarkable that we haven't established these frameworks and these criterias in the past, but I'm very pleased nonetheless that we're finally here and that we have the kind of leadership assembled here on this call that made this all possible. Accordingly, I'm very proud. I don't know, and Dr. Weber, you'll talk more eloquently and more specifically about the reparations bill that you championed, but the fact that we are here at scale, a state as large as ours, advancing this cause where it's not just a question on a questionnaire for a candidate running for office, but it's actually taking shape here, at least the first step. Boy, that's a meaningful moment in this conversation, which as well is so long overdue. And so I couldn't be more honored, more pleased to be here with all of you, more honored and pleased with so many of the champions that are with us. And no further ado, I just want to launch with one of our great champions on not just the issue of racial justice and social justice, but someone who helped advance the moment we celebrated last year around police accountability and so many other extraordinary causes related to racial justice and reconciliation. And that's Dr. Shirleyweber. And Dr. Weber, let's mark this moment, point deep pride for the work you did to get this bill down to my desk and to work with so many constituencies and stakeholders to make this bill possible and to get the support, the broad support, including Republican support, a bipartisan bill on reparation, proving a paradigm that we hope will be resonant all across the United States. Dr. Weber, thank you so much. Turning it over to you.
Thank you, Governor Newsom. I'm really honored to be here and appreciative of the fact that you're signing AB 3121 as well as AB 3070. This is an extremely important time for all of us because we know California tries to lead the way in terms of civil rights, and we have a responsibility to do that. And oftentimes people will say, well, why can't we wait for the federal government to do its part? And I think most folks have waited a while. But we know that California can lead the way, that we can demonstrate what it is to talk about reparations and to try and repair people's lives that we have obviously had a negative impact. California has come to terms with many of its issues, but it has yet to come to terms with its role in slavery. And the fact that that many of our families, my family came to California because they thought this was a golden state with tremendous opportunity. And it was in comparison to coming from Hope, Arkansas. But they also had to come to realization that this state has deeply rooted issues about race and slavery, and that we can demonstrate in what we do through all of our institutions of what it means to be enslaved, the negative impact, and how we need to repair individuals to do that. So we're talking about really addressing the issues of justice and fairness in this country that we have to address. I'm also grateful for the fact that we're also addressing the issue too, this time, of jury selection. We've done a lot of things that most of you mentioned, my bills on the police use of force and racial profiling and all these things we've done. And yet at the same time, we still have to deal with so many other issues, and the jury selection is extremely important. So 3070 is an extremely important bill, just like 2131, to begin to bring the kind of justice and fairness that is necessary. California has a tremendous opportunity. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. And which means if we can do it, others can do it also. And that becomes important as we make this issue an important issue that's there, to try to educate all Californians about the impact of slavery, that after 400 years, we still have that impact. And there's still a need and a necessary opportunity for us to begin to address that issue. So I'm very grateful to you, Governor, for basically seeing these two bills that were, that both of them end up being bipartisan, but the the one on reparations was even more bipartisan than the one on jury selection. And yet at the same time, we fought hard every step of the way. I want to thank you for your support in influencing those who eventually at some point had to come across the line. Thanking the Supreme Court justices who helped us to make this a better bill, that to push forward with so many others fighting against us every step of the way for 3070. You know, I always take the hard things in life, and that's what I do because it's important. After spending 40 years as a professor and a founder of Africana Studies at San Diego State, I know the importance of reparations. I know the importance of history, of getting our information correct, and basically beginning to move California forward. I want to thank all of those who are online, as well as so many others. You know, my caucus is here, the Black Caucus. I chair the Black Caucus, and we have been a force this year in terms of social justice and equal opportunity and change. We have pushed the hard bills forward. We have stood strong as a caucus to not only deal with these issues, but as you know, ACA 5, coming forward with Proposition 16 to restore affirmative action to California. Those things are critical, and this caucus has stood firm on every one of those issues. And so I want to thank my caucus members who've come in today. We're a small caucus. We're one of the smallest caucus. There's only 10 of us, yet we are 10 powerful individuals making a difference in California. And I want people to understand that there are only 10 African Americans in the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly. And yet we as a force, a collective force, have pushed forth the kind of legislation that really makes a difference. And we thank our colleagues for joining us from the Chicano Caucus, the API Caucus, the Women's Caucus, who've joined us in making a difference. I want to thank, I see one of our real champions, Ice Cube, who's online, who's on with us today. I want to thank him also for all of his tweets and all of his words that came forward to push us to say, listen, the nation is watching and we need this to be done. And so I'm so appreciative of not only you taking time to do that, but you're taking time out of your day to be with us. So I'm very proud of the fact that we have two bills that will really make a difference in California. And we have so many others that are on our list that are also being signed by the governor. But to sign 3121 is groundbreaking for the United States. To basically say this state is going to deal with the issue of reparations, and we're going to make a difference as a result of it, and truly focus upon this issue that has been a part of California's issue. And of course, 3070 to really begin to change jury selections in California is critically important. So I'm excited about being here today. I want to thank you so very much, all of you who worked so hard on this bill, my staff, the members of the caucus, the other staff persons who worked hard, the governor's office to get this bill forward, to get it done, and to get it now to be getting it signed in California makes a tremendous difference. It is going to be an exciting opportunity with both of these bills to make a difference and to begin to move the agenda. I want to let people know, first of all, that this bill, both of these bills were done before the Floyd incident, was done before the pandemic. I want you to understand that, because some people think these are issues that just came forward and it was the right time at the right moment. These bills were done last year. We authored these bills at the end of last year, and we were pushing these bills forward when all of the issues of the COVID virus and everything else came forward. So this is not just because of the circumstances we face. What happens, of course, is those circumstances reinforced the fact that what we were saying all along was true, that we needed to deal with these issues that in terms of our community, but these did not come because of that. But they help to reinforce the fact that this is truth and that it's a necessity for us to address it. So I want to make sure that's clear, because some people think we're just responding to the moment. We're responding to the history of California and the life of Black people in California and in this nation that has to be addressed every day, and not simply because we're obviously faced with a challenge of trying to appease individuals to make them believe that we're going to move forward. This is because of the necessity of where we are. So I want to thank all of you who've come. I want to thank the governor and the council and those who worked on these two bills. I'm proud to be the author, proud to be chair of the caucus, the Black Caucus, the California Legislative Black Caucus, and the powerful group that they are, and the colleagues who've helped us so much. It gives me great pleasure to then present to you my other colleague, my comrade in the struggle, Ash Kaura, who is also presenting AB 2542, which I'm proud to say that I am a co-author of that bill as well. So I am glad to present to you Mr. Ash Kaura.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Weber, for the kind introduction and for being our moral compass, our guiding light in the Capitol, encouraging all of us to always strive for justice for all. Thank you, Governor Newsom, for your incredible leadership. This is a momentous and historic occasion, not just for California, but for our nation. At a time when our nation is once again struggling to confront racism in all forms, the actions taken today will help to put in place critical and meaningful tools needed to combat and root out institutional racism. It comes, of course, amid a renewed national focus on racial discrimination in the criminal justice system. With this action today, we pronounce that we are no longer afraid of too much justice. This is a transformational moment in our nation's history, where we are not simply tinkering around the edges, but are starting a sincere journey of rooting out the institutional racism ingrained in our criminal justice system. Many of you know that for over a decade, I worked as a deputy public defender and saw firsthand thousands of Black and Latino lives were subjected to the worst of the systemic racism that oftentimes did not see their humanity, a system rooted in generations of oppression. However, you clearly do not need that firsthand experience to see the change that is desperately needed in our society, as evidenced by Governor Newsom taking these bold steps today. I cannot put into words how momentous the signing of the Racial Justice Act is in redesigning a criminal justice system that emphasizes justice, and I'm incredibly inspired and grateful to you, Governor. These actions are just some of many you have taken during your tenure in office to demonstrate that you are serious about correcting wrongs from generations past. We are living up to the lofty expectations we put on ourselves as Californians, and I hope to see our actions today spread across the nation. Here in California, we don't simply hold up signs that say Black Lives Matter or symbolically call for a national movement for justice without first looking at ourselves in the mirror and actually transforming those righteous calls for change into action. We are meeting the moment that has been placed before us with courage, thanks to your leadership, Mr. Governor. I want to thank all the sponsors and coalition partners who worked tirelessly for months, as well as the work of my staff. Similarly to what Dr. Weber said about the bills that are presented by her, this bill was not introduced after the torture and murder of George Floyd. It was introduced before because we see this as a problem that's been around for far too long. Now, of course, with the resurgence of a Black liberation uprising and a call for compassion and for true justice in our court systems and across our entire justice system, the time was right for us to continue to plow ahead. And I want to thank, again, all of our sponsors who, this was a roller coaster of a bill. It was dead on arrival at one point. We brought it back to life. And I'm just so grateful to all of you. I'm also grateful to my legislative colleagues like Dr. Weber. I want to give a specific shout out to Senator Holly Mitchell, who presented the bill on the floor of the Senate. So grateful for her leadership as well. And I'm just so thrilled that we're here today to be able to sign all these incredible bills that once again put California at the forefront of really combating systemic racism and standing for racial justice. Once again, I want to thank you, Governor Newsom, for your courageous actions today. And someday we're going to look back at this day. And in the words of one of our legendary California poets, say, today was a good day.
That's right.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Zach Norris, Executive Director of the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights and an incredible advocate for all the work we're doing in the Capitol. Thank you, Zach.
Right on. Thank you, Assemblymember Cara, and thank you, Dr. Weber. What an honor. What an honor it is to be able to get to speak to you all on this historic occasion. I am the Executive Director of the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights based in Oakland, California, and I'm here mostly to talk as one of the co-sponsors of the Racial Justice Act, but I would be remiss to not acknowledge Dr. Weber's leadership, not just in terms of the Racial Justice Act as a co-author, but for Assembly Bill 3121. As a descendant of people enslaved in this country, as the grandson of grandparents who fled racialized terror from Osaka, Mississippi, and came here to California and experienced discrimination and worse still on this West Coast. I am just incredibly appreciative of your leadership. But I mostly want to speak about the bill that we co-sponsored, this Racial Justice Act. And I want to be honest with y'all, because I didn't believe we would make it this far with this act, if I'm being honest, Assemblymember Carver.
Yeah.
Because, you know, seeing racial disparities is what led me to this work. I went to Harvard as an undergrad, and I saw just how differently young people could be treated when they were in that esteemed institution versus my friends and family in East Oakland, often for doing some of the same things. And being an advocate and having learned about this work, I know that it's not just across races, but also among races that these racial disparities show up. So even among African Americans, the lighter your skin is, the lighter your sentence is likely to be. And that is something that I have had to really grapple with as a light-skinned African American. What is my charge in this movement? These disparities have seemed immutable, inchangeable, indestructible. When the Supreme Court in 1987 in McCleskey versus Kemp voted to uphold structural racism in our courts, our esteemed Justice William Brennan said, it seems that they have a fear of too much justice. But as Michelle Alexander said in her powerful Sacramento Bee op-ed, there is no such thing as too much justice. And we will challenge the racial injustice in the criminal court system. And the Racial Justice Act provides a mechanism to do that. To be honest, I never say criminal justice system, right? We always say criminal court system. But this bill gives me hope that one day we will have a justice system that deserves to have justice in its title. So I want to thank Assemblymember Carra, Dr. Weber, all of the co-sponsors of this bill, American Friends Service Committee, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, California Coalition for Women Prisoners, Californians United for a Responsible Budget, the League of Women Voters, NextGen, United Domestic Workers, AFSCME Local 3930. All of us were driven by the experience of people who have been themselves injured by crushing racism, who themselves have been incarcerated or are currently incarcerated. We are attorneys, advocates. We are folks who are looking to and benefiting from an analysis that goes beyond white papers and really goes to our own experience. And in that, I want to thank the leadership of Amber Rose, Howard of Curb, of Romarilyn Ralston at the California Coalition of Women Prisoners, my colleagues, Derek Morgan and Emily Harris, and Natasha Minsker at the Death Penalty Coalition and Smart Justice California. Thank you, Reform Alliance, for the nudge and assist to get this across the finish line. And Assemblymember Ash Carra for your determination and your dedication, because you got the ball rolling. And when it was stuck behind a big boulder, you moved it around that boulder and kept it rolling. And I want to thank all of the folks who have been in the streets, not just this year, but the past 20 years and the past 200 plus years in Capitol buildings, in street corners, making sure that our policies reflect the truth that Black Lives Matter. I would name more individuals, but we're already past time. And there is one individual whose leadership can make these bills get transformed into law. So Governor Newsom, I'm passing it to you to please sign these bills. Thank you, Governor.
I appreciate it. I appreciated the Harvard name drop, Zach, too. You had to get Harvard in there. Rub it in, man. I'm on to you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the work you guys have done at Ella Baker, and thank you all of the people that you recognize as well, Zach. That was important to do. And again, in particular, let me just thank the assembly members that really brought this thing to not only the floor, but brought it down to my desk. I'd be remiss, and some member Holden, I didn't know if you would be on here. I assumed you would. But if we're going to talk about racial justice package, And I got to consider one of the bills you put down to my desk, which I happen literally to have on my desk. And I might as well take this moment to acknowledge your leadership on that corporate board bill. When we talk about racial justice, we talk about empowerment, we talk about power. We need to talk about seats at the table. And Assembly Member, I'm looking forward to signing this bill in a moment as well. Why don't you talk a moment about it?
Well, first of all, thank you, Governor. I know that I'm very privileged to be serving with colleagues who have a vision about how the state can be an example for the rest of the country and the world. We have a president who cannot even deny racist groups in America. We are made to feel kind of heavy laden by that. But then I come to this meeting this morning, this conference, where you're signing bills that are definitely setting an example for the rest of this country to follow, and that I'm proud to live in a state that recognizes the needs of all of its people. And for a state to have over 600 corporations headquartered, it is far time past that we needed to have an opportunity to see people of color serve at the corporate board level, the directors level. And certainly the spirit of this bill, I believe, will cause companies to move quickly, to start bringing on headhunters who are headhunter groups that are owned and operated by people of color, African Americans, Latino, Asian. And this is an opportunity really to get people of color at the table where the decisions are made, where the culture is set, where opportunities for all people to have an opportunity to come through the front door and have a job opportunity throughout the organization. And I think this is a first of its kind, if you will, in the nation. And I'm proud that you are the governor that is showing the bold leadership to bring it to fruition. So I just thank you for your leadership. I thank my colleagues, the CLBC, for their endorsement of this bill and helping to move it along, for my joint authors, Christina Garcia, David Chu, and Eloise Reyes, as well as Senator Ben Hueso, and also the companies that jumped on very quickly, two in particular, HP and Bloom Energy, that are leading by example. When you put pen to paper on this bill, they will already be in compliance with the bill. And so I just want to recognize that. I want to recognize the 4 constitutional officers who have also weighed in support, Ricardo Lara, Betty Yee, Fiona Ma, and Alex Padilla, who will be a part of helping to give guidance to this bill as we go forward. So with that, without further ado, I would thank you, Governor, and we look forward to this new day in California as you complete these justice bills that are going to make a difference to addressing systemic racism and hopefully sending a good positive message across these 50 states.
I appreciate it, Senator Member. And thanks for bringing up HP and Bloom. It's interesting. CEOs of both those companies don't just support the bill. They were advocates. They tracked down my cell phone, got me on. They want to hear my voice. They made a strong case, strong argument. And that's very meaningful when you have leadership by example in those 2 iconic California-based companies. And so we do indeed hope others will take the spirit, not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of what we're trying to advance here and move forward. You've got an implementation strategy here that is a number of years. We don't need to wait 2, 3, 4 years for folks to move. They have the ability to do the right thing and do so now. And so I appreciate all of your energy and the privilege of getting this to my desk. Look, all of you, thank you again for everything you're doing. I see my old town district attorney in San Francisco. Thank you for joining as well and your strong advocacy for all of these bills. I can go now. I'm gonna get in trouble. Ann's there, Scott. Reggie. I'm gonna have to say hi to everybody. Shonda, Dan Seaman, who's on here, who did a lot of good work on this. Some of these bills. All of you, spectacular. And Ice Cube, I don't know how the hell he knew I was signing half these bills before I even told my staff. He said, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm glad you're signing these things. So well done. And thank you for your advocacy as well. No further ado, let's just jump right in. And I got AB 3121. Dr. Weber, your bill, and we'll just start here by signing this.
Done deal.
Done deal. In the
Reparations.
spirit, Dr. Weber, in the spirit of some of these bills and spirit of your comments and some of the comments from men, I think it was Pericles who said, "We do not imitate, for we are a model to the world." Now that's a little braggadocious, but it's in the spirit of Governor Brown quoting the Greeks. I think Pericles was the Athenian mayor who said that. And so I like the spirit of what you guys are saying. This is not just about California. It's about making an impact and a dent across the rest of the country. And that, I think, drives a lot of our work here in the state. And I know it drives a lot of the passion of many of you that are with us. AB 3070, again, in that same spirit. And Washington State's done a little work on this, and I want to thank them as well for their leadership. We got that bill signed as well. Thank you.
Good deal. Good.
Thank you. And us and some Carla, 2542.
Yes.
For all your hard work on this. Thank you for your perseverance, not giving up and giving in to the arbiters of the status quo. Well done, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. And someone holding 979. Well done, and builds on the work you guys did last year with Governor Brown or 2 years ago on gender equity on boards. Privilege for me to sign this bill as well. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for your great work. Real privilege. Pleasure to be with you all today and to sign those bills. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Governor, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.